Hi, everybody. We'll be getting started here in just a moment. We're just about a minute early, but it is definitely better weather-wise tonight than it has been for a while, so that feels pretty good. A little red in the face from lots of sun last week and a day on the golf course Sunday, but that'll brown up, I'm sure, in a few days. So I'm not sick. I'm okay. I'm just, sitting here on Monday night. And it's time for Nightcap. This is the first one of the second half of the year. Just think, last Monday night we were wrapping up June. And tonight we're talking about the wedding of the year. The royal wedding. Travis and Taylor at Madison Square Garden with 1,000 guests. A 10-hour process that had an open door, cocktails. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you. Cocktails, the wedding, the reception. Oh, and it wasn't just a reception with like cake and ice cream and coffee and cocktails. Little dancing. There were raffles. There was a Gucci purse given away or a Prada purse, somebody's purse. There were Cartier watches given away, and there was a fancy car given away. So how about that? All that stuff. John, hello. Nice to see you. Boy, I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to this weekend. We'll be talking about it a little more here during this nightcap shortly, but I'm looking forward to coming out to the grand opening of the Twisted Trail Winery. That's going to be fun. And a bunch of people showing up already. Hi, Betty. Hi, Jim. Hi, Jim. Hi, Shirley. And John. Nice to see you. So we had the wedding. And how was your weekend? Did you catch up on all the fireworks? Were you at some of the fireworks shows, or were you shooting off your own? Or were you just trying to get some sleep and they were still going off till 11:30? And not only on the 4th, but also on the 5th and even into, and the 3rd, But yeah, there were a lot of fireworks off this weekend. But hey, that's why there's all those tents selling fireworks around. So I played my first golf after the pacemaker on Sunday. And I have to tell you that 3 months after the pacemaker, first golf of the season, it wasn't too bad. Broke 100. In fact, I shot 91. Probably cheated a little, like most golfers do. But we weren't playing for money, so it didn't matter. And I was playing by myself, so if I cheated anybody, I cheated myself. However, I had one amazing thing happen while I was playing golf, because I met two wonderful young men that I caught up to and then let them play with me to the end of the round for about the last 4 or 5 holes. Kitty, are you having a hairball? This is the first. A first. The blonde bombshell, Kitty here, who is 14 years old. I guess I woke up because he was sitting out here on a chair. But he's going to be okay, I think. Hope so. So, hey, Butch, how are you? You know all about cats and hairballs, I know. And he's still going at it. So I caught up with these guys, and their names were Jet and Brent. One lived in Effingham. One was in Bloomington. His parents lived in Florida. And they were just two really nice guys. One graduated from SIUE. The other one was a senior at SIUE. And they were playing along with me, and they were pretty good. Matter of fact, Jet shot a 72, so that's pretty good for a par 70 course. And they were hitting from the blues all the way back, whereas I was hitting from the reds because I'm 75 years old and I can hit where the women do. But you know what? We had a lot of fun, and they were two of the politest young men I've ever met. I was shocked. You know, we hear so many stories about how people are, kids have no respect for elders. That's me. I'm an elder. Kids have no respect for elders. Kids don't know how to read. Kids don't know how to write. No Palmer method. They don't know how to, don't know anything about history. All they care about is their screen and their game they want to play. Well, you know what? They're not all that way. And these two guys, I mean, they could not have been nicer. They could not have been more polite. They could not have been more accommodating to an old man. And just super guys. So I wish them well. I really do. So enough about that. U.S. men's national team lost to Belgium tonight, 4-1. It was basically it was over in about 25 minutes, I think you might say. And then when the Belgium team scored their third goal and then their fourth goal at the end, yeah, it was. I think it kind of showed the U.S. team was awfully good, but the U.S. team was not good enough to beat Belgium. And now Belgium goes on to play Spain. And Spain probably is the class of the tournament. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Heat's backing down a bit. Cardinals tonight lost to the Brewers 4-3, which was a bit of a shame after they were up 3-0. And once again, the bullpen didn't shut it down. But the Heat is backing down, and we're going to have, low 80s to mid 80s this week, not 95. And the rain will probably come on Friday and Saturday. That is why Twisted Trail Winery has a lovely tasting room and a covered patio and a lot of tables. So don't let any threat of rain slow you down from going out there and enjoying the Twisted Trail Winery grand opening. The wine's gorgeous, the people are great, and I think they have a band Friday and Saturday, and I think they have food trucks on Friday and Sunday, including a pretty good barbecue on Sunday, I believe. So it's a nice place to go. You'll hear their ads on the radio pretty much all week, and on both the Ox and all the 106.1 and, the whole thing, where I am in the afternoon. Also, Minions and Monsters showing at the West Side. I don't know how many of the Minions movies you've seen. They've made 6 of them, and they've made about $6 billion total. The new one, Minions and Monsters, is fun and funny, and it's uproarious. If you haven't been to an animated movie for a long time, maybe since you took a grandchild or something, you ought to go see this one, because it is funny. It's good. And adults will like it because there's so much slapstick. It's like watching a Three Stooges movie from back when we were kids. And that's about the truth. That's it. Well, let's see. We killed about 7 minutes, it looks like. Now the meat of the thing. Have you ever wondered about acronyms, things like ATM or PIN, P-I-N, LCD, how redundant they are? And the reason I say that is if I say go to the ATM, what's ATM stand for? Stands for Automatic Teller Machine. So why would you say ATM machine? And yet we do. We say ATM machine virtually all the time. Except if you're in a bar and you've had a few beers and you say, you guys got an ATM here? But most of the time they say ATM machine. Also PIN. A PIN, you got a PIN number, whereas the acronym actually stands for Personal Identification Number. So you've got a personal identification number, just like you've got a automatic teller machine. LCD, of course, the liquid crystal display, but a lot of times you'll say an LCD display on your phone or on your TV, and it is an LCD, a liquid crystal display. It's been around for a long time. If you might remember, Superman and Batman were all part of DC Comics. DC Comics started way back in the 30s, 1937, when it was called Detective Comics. And then it shortened it to DC, Detective Comics. So DC Comics, of course, is Detective Comics Comics. And, of course, Major League Baseball is as bad as anything, because when people talk about MLB, Major League Baseball, so there's no problem there. The NFL, no problem there. The NBA, the WNBA, all of these things, well, they're pretty good. They're not throwing machine or number or anything after that. But Major League Baseball, MLB baseball, or NBA basketball, National Basketball Association basketball. There you have it. So just think about it the next time you go to the ATM machine. I mean the ATM. So we talked about a few acronyms. Now here's the other thing for your English class tonight, class. Have you ever heard of kangaroo words? Have you ever heard of joey words? There actually are such things. There are kangaroo words and joey words, and kangaroo words and joey words are somewhat connected, very much connected. In fact, just like a kangaroo and a joey are connected and synonymous with one another. A joey, as a young kangaroo, is a joey word is a shorter version of a longer kangaroo word. For example, one example of a kangaroo word is action. That's the kangaroo word. The joey word is act, which is inside the action. Another example, discordance. The discord would be the joey word. Kangaroo word superb. The joey word super. Okay, that's close. Devilish, the kangaroo word. Evil is the joey word. But they don't have to be written in a single block. This is crazy. And I'm not going to go on this forever and ever, because you'll say, thank God, John. Think about the word charisma. Charisma is a kangaroo word. Well, how? Because if you take a couple of letters out and move them around, you've got charm. So kangaroo word is charisma. Charm is the joey word. And then you have diminutive, which has both minute and many. So there's a kangaroo word with two joey words inside. And then there are grand kangaroo words. Grand kangaroo words, which also contain two joey words. But the difference there is that those joey words, one is contained entirely inside the other joey word. Okay, what do I mean by that? Okay, the kangaroo word is alone. The joey word, first joey word, is lone. And if you take off the L, the second joey word is one. Now, I'm telling you, at the water cooler or the next cocktail party you go to, if you want to bore somebody you're talking to, just say, have you heard of kangaroo words and joey words? That's part of it. Okay, so that one's taken care of. I haven't even gotten into talking to you about a sockdologer. I was asking Sean the other day when we were doing our show. I said, Sean, you are a sockdologer. And he of course, said, well, thank you. A sockdologer is an exceptional person or thing. And obviously Taylor Swift and Kelsey are getting ready to, or did get ready to get married on the 4th of July. And it was a sockdologer wedding and reception, without a doubt. 10 hours worth, that'd be a sockdologer, I'd think. When you go to the grocery store and you buy stuff, yes, Jim, tie me kangaroo down and beat me with a couple of joeys. There you have it. Oh my. So, okay, when you go to the grocery store and you buy milk, are you looking for the milk with the farthest date out? Do you maybe like move a couple of gallons or half gallons that are in front and just look at the date and see if it goes a little longer, because you want to make sure that milk lasts as many days as possible, right? Some people look at it a little bit differently, because is the sell-by date the goodbye date? You know, sell-by, and then if you haven't sold it by then, goodbye, it's gone. Or if it's in your refrigerator and the sell-by date comes up, does that mean the milk is bad, or does that mean it just had to be sold by, because, you know, the extended period of time is not very many days? Well, there is a girl named Kimberly Cawson, and she lives in San Francisco, and she says it means different things. Now, she's a chef and a cooking teacher in Irvine, California, and she says there are varying phrases on food packaging that have often left shoppers unsure whether food is simply past its peak or whether it is unsafe to eat. So, if it's sell-by, that doesn't mean it's past its peak or that it's unsafe to eat. But when you get to the goodbye, it's past its peak. But that doesn't mean it's all bad. That doesn't mean you still can't use it. Maybe you don't want to drink it, but you put it on your cereal. Maybe you don't want to drink it, but you make it with your oatmeal, or you're making biscuits. The bottom line is, in California, and soon in other parts of the country, there will be new food labeling classifications. The new law starts Wednesday in California, and it bans the use of sell-by labels on food packaging, which experts say act as a guide for retailers on how long to display, but not an indicator of whether they're still safe to consume. Now, manufacturers selling food in California must use two standardized labels. The first one is best if used by. And then the second one, and they have to use them both. They have to tell you best if used by and use by. So if a use by date comes up, it's no good. You want to get rid of it. I could say, or feed it to the dog, but you know that wouldn't be good. I'd get turned into somebody. But the dog would probably eat it, even though if you might turn up your nose. So anyway, best if used by and use by. That's coming in California, and maybe we'll see it for us sometime before too much longer. Who knows? I had a serious story I wanted to share with you. I saved this one until pretty much the end, next to last thing. I don't know if you've given a lot of thought how you feel about all the work, the construction that's being done in Washington, the White House, the reflecting pool, you know, the ballroom, the extra things that are being done. It just seems like it's an ongoing process, and you don't know who's paying for it. You really don't. But, you know, this is not the first time some work was done at the White House that somebody thought it was too much or shouldn't have been done. And yet, if it hadn't been done, there could have been a real catastrophe. When Harry Truman moved in, this of course would have been 1945, when Truman moved in, he noticed that the building's south portico looked top-heavy due to its tall columns. And the first lady, the first family, lacked any private outdoor space. You can imagine around the White House, there's always people coming and going. You can't really just sit out in the rose garden and, read a book or whatever, probably, if you're the president, or even one of the president's children or the first lady, because there's always somebody walking around. So there's not a whole lot of privacy, and there was very, very small space for it. So he thought if they added a second floor balcony built directly into the existing columns, that would give them a chance to have a little bit of space that would be private for them. So as engineers began installing the balcony, this happened in 1948, they realized the entire mansion was fundamentally unsound. And I guess they didn't undertake this until Truman was actually elected president, not just filling out FDR's term. So they began installing this balcony in 1948, and then they found that the decay had been compounding for over a century. The building was unsound. When the British burned the mansion back in 1814, the fire severely weakened the original timber frames and the brick walls before it was hastily rebuilt. Over the next 130 years, presidents haphazardly cut through load-bearing walls to install plumbing and electricity and heating ducts. The final blow came in 1927 when Calvin Coolidge added a heavy third floor with a concrete and steel roof resting its massive weight on weakened century-old wooden beams. Well, that's dangerous. You wouldn't do that to your house. By 1948, the floors were physically swaying when people walked, and chandeliers shook constantly. The breaking point occurred when the leg of Margaret Truman's piano broke through the rotting floorboards. Engineers declared the building a fire trap in imminent danger of caving in. So the Truman family moved across the street to the Blair House between 1949 and 1952. Here, think about it. He gets elected president one time, decides not to run again, and 3 of the 4 years, he's not in the White House. 4 of the 4 years, from 45 to 49, he was in a dilapidated fire trap. So he didn't really get to enjoy the White House very much. But the Truman family moved across the street while the White House was systematically dismantled. The project was so extensive, bulldozers were driven inside the historic walls to excavate a new basement. The interior was completely gutted during this Truman reconstruction, leaving only the exterior brick walls standing while the wooden framework was replaced with load-bearing steel. When the first family moved back in 1952, the interior was entirely new, supported by a hidden steel frame. The controversial balcony that sparked the discovery remains the primary private outdoor sanctuary for every president since. How about that? So the White House is in good shape now, thank goodness, until it's not, or till it gets rebuilt from everything that's going on. They said the fireworks were a hit in D.C., except you couldn't see the reflection in the reflecting pool because of all the algae. I'm sorry about that. But I didn't watch it. I did watch some of the Disney on ABC celebration from Nashville. I watched some of the White House celebration on CBS. Sean was talking about NBC today. I didn't watch any of the. I didn't realize NBC had one. So that sounds about right. They were fun to watch. I thought for being in Nashville, there was an awful lot of non-country music at the home of country music. Matter of fact, I guess I watched at the wrong times. All I saw was hip-hop and pop and Joe Jonas and, I don't know, a couple other groups, but no country that I saw. And I didn't see any country in Washington, but I'm sure there probably was. The last thing I wanted to mention, we talk about AI a lot. We really do. And AI has some wonderful values. It truly does. Not religious or publicity value, nothing like that. There is benefit to AI if you're careful and you use it right. I have a picture, and I don't know where I got it, but it came from my mom or my sister Tina, I'm not sure. But it was of my 5 uncles that are actually my 5 brothers, because as many of you know, my grandparents raised my sister Paula and Tina and I. The interesting thing is these 5 brothers, 5 of the Carl and Leola Marty's 9 children, plus the 3 more that we were when we came. 5 of those brothers, call them their uncles, they're all gone but one. All the girls are gone but one. But I had this picture of these 5 brothers. It happened at a time when I'm going to call these my brothers because they are. It was my brother Dean, my brother David, my brother Tony, my brother Ted, and my brother Lawrence. And my brother Lawrence, who lives in Hillsboro, is the only one still remaining. But these 5 brothers were all home at one time. This was probably around 1951 or 52. And Ted and Lawrence were probably younger, and Tony was married and gone, I guess. And Dean was in the service. He was in the Air Force in Germany. And David, of course, was home helping my dad, my grandfather, at the Shell station. So I had this blurry picture of these 5 brothers. And I asked AI can you take this blurry picture and clear it up, maybe colorize it, and animate it? And it said, sure. Let me work on it. This was done with an AI program called Super Cool. And Super Cool, pretty nice, just a mini version of it that does a lot of things. I think I pay $8 a month for it. So anyway, Super Cool started working on it. And the first thing it did was it took this blurry picture that I uploaded and it colorized it and made it look beautiful. Took all the fuzziness out of the way. But because it was blurry, the thing it couldn't do was give me the 5 faces. I mean, they were kind of close. But you look at it, if you knew these 5 brothers, and you'd say, no, these aren't them. But it was close. They were dressed the way they were. The background was the way it was. But there just was about 10% of the actual image. Just not very much. By that I mean my brother David, he wore glasses. He had glasses on, but it didn't really look like him. But still, I was thrilled to see it. But something happened that made me feel incredibly happy about having it, because the next step was to animate it. And what it did was it sent it back to me, the picture with that little arrow, push here, with an 8-second animation. And by animation, I mean it brought them to life. And when you have 4 brothers out of 5 that are gone, and you hope they're in heaven, and you see this picture, and when you push the start button, and the tall one, Tony, in the middle, Tony says, "Come here, boys. Let's have a hug." And they all get together, and it was just amazing, and it just melted my heart. So if you've got a picture like that, and maybe yours won't be blurry and you'll actually get the real faces, tell Super Cool to do something for you, because I'll tell you, it made my night. I must have watched it 50 times because I miss all 4 of those. And it just made me think, this is what it's going to be like in heaven. Maybe. I hope. That's my dream. And my dream for you is that you have some sort of joyous thing that happens to you this week that way. And of course, in the meantime, We'll get together. I'll talk to you on the radio tomorrow. And remember, as I always say, I love you. Pass it on, okay? Share it with the world. It makes it a beautiful place. I'll see you next Monday night and on the radio tomorrow. Good night, everybody.